when people talk about how kids get it really easy today and all this kind of stuff, I'm old enough, and I guess maybe I also grew up in a part of the world, like as many people probably still even do today, where I'm not easily swayed by some of these arguments because we still had corporal punishment in schools when I was a kid. We had the thing in Scotland called the leather toss. It's like a strap, and we had to stand and hold our hands out, and the teacher would slap you across the hands with this leather strap and get the cane and things like that. And then, I guess when I was 12 or something like that, that was banned from schools, and then parents were banned in some countries from using corporal punishment on their kids and stuff. But I've got a collection of scars from literally. I think I joked earlier about playing in building sites. I literally played on building sites when I was a kid. I nearly drowned 3 times when I was a kid. Set fire to myself umpteen, like all sorts of stuff. Right. I've got all sorts of scars and things like from growing up and being alive. When I was a kid, I grew up near a wood and a big river and by the sea, and we were just kind of allowed to go out and play on our own, even as small kids, on our bikes and stuff. And we did all sorts of little boys love doing dangerous things, so I got in a lot of accidents, and I look back in my life and I think definitely there are a few times where I nearly died, and I'm kind of lucky, didn't fall off a cliff or get drowned or something like that. And then so I look at my daughter and think maybe I should toughen her up and so I'm like, most of those experiences I don't think really benefited me that much, to be honest. I'll tell you what I did take from corporal punishment at school, interestingly. It made me angry. I don't know if it toughened me up, but it made me, the main effect I think it had on me as a teenager was I was consumed with anger. And the person that I think that understood that the most as a psychologist was B.F. Skinner, and his famous book that he wrote called Beyond Freedom and Dignity. He talks about the risks of punishment as a form of social engineering and operant conditioning is the technical term. And Skinner says, look, if you have people think punishment is a good way of conditioning behaviour, shaping behaviour, psychologists put it. There are pros and cons to doing it, but the downside to punishment, it's a technical downside, is that people experience, there are several downsides, but one of them is that people experience a sense of reward when they avoid the punishment in the future. So if you have a dog and it jumps on your couch and you whack it with a newspaper and say, "Get off the couch," right, whenever it does it, your dog will cower and be like, "Oh, I better not go on the couch then because it's going to whack me again with the newspaper," right? But I've got bad news for you. When you go out of the house and you're not around, the first thing the dog does is jump out on the couch, because now it gets a buzz out of doing it. It thinks he's not around to hit me with the newspaper. And I completely understood that. When I was a kid, I spent half my time plotting ways to get around punishment. And I think that's how a lot of crime operates. A lot of criminals, especially career criminals, get like a huge buzz out of avoiding being caught and punished for the things that they do. So as Skinner realised, there's an obvious problem with using punishment as a form of social conditioning. Well, what if you use loads of punishment and you hurt people badly? Well, the downside of that is that it usually just destroys them. Like, it causes depression, basically. It kind of breaks their character, and then they end up, potentially behaving in quite erratic, unpredictable, or anti-social ways. It's not healthy to severely punish people repeatedly. You're going to end up with more problems by doing that. Skinner thought we should be more intelligent about using positive reinforcement, to try and shape people's behaviour. It's hard to know how to do that, but it requires a little bit more thought. So I think as a kid growing up, the main thing I take from my own experience was just that kind of, first of all, exposing myself to a lot of risk. As far as I'm aware, I don't think it made me tougher. And so I don't look at my daughter and think I try to find situations where she could be challenged and stretched. I wouldn't let her play in a building site unsupervised, or I wouldn't let her row a dinghy out to sea or some of the crazy things that I did when I was a kid. So maybe it's all relative. I don't know, when people talk about going easy on the kids and the kind of nanny state and all that stuff, I'm not sure what the reference point is. When I was a kid, we did a lot of dangerous things, and I feel like now with my daughter, I'm inclined to. I don't see the benefit of that. I'm inclined to be more careful. But I think it's true that I do see people mollycoddling their kids too much and removing any element of competition, and I can definitely see a downside to that.